Okay, so we're back, and I've gotten the green beads up to, just want this to be clear because this is an important, it's really important that you see this well. Okay, so I've gotten up to there, right? So at this point, I've got another bicone to add in there. Okay, so the next one is going to be a bicone. And you're going to brick stitch it just like you brick stitched the delicas, as you know, just as before. So I'm going to take my pin. I know this is weird, but it's my way. If you find a better way to hold on to it, that would be great. So I just put the pin in the other side. I'm just going to pull it down. It's just going to hold it. Gives me something to hold on to. So here I am. I'm going to come to the other side of the hole of that first bicone. So I'm at the top of the earring now, and I'm going to stitch that bicone on. Now I'm next to the wonky bead, that you start with. Okay, so let me pull that. So when it gets up here, it gets a little crazy. You're like, well, what's going on here? Why are these beads all crooked? So let me see. Yes, so I hooked my bead a little bit. Okay, so you see how that's crooked? Push up your pin, get it through the bicone. Just play with it. I mean, it's really not all that delicate. Okay, so now we're going to go through the wonky bead to get that straight. So go down and around. Let's make sure we would pick up some thread here. Okay, did we pick up thread? Yes. Down and around. Okay, and then we've got to move our pin down a little bit and go up see, here's where it's a little loose, but don't worry about it. It will straighten out. Go back up the brick stitch piece. Put your little crystal back on your little pin, and sometimes it's hard to get it on there. Sometimes you have to sort of bend it and play with it a little bit and push it through. It's usually not as difficult as I'm doing it because my drawer camera and all. So there you have it. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. Looking at the two bicones on top of each other. We've got our green beads here. We've attached that green bead. If you want, you can, you really can play with them a little bit. You can even squish it in a little bit. Not a lot, but you can move them a little bit. Like I have a feeling on the other side I should have added another bead, but I still think it's going to come out fine. Remember, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be perfect, but both sides of your face are not perfect. Both eyes are not exactly the same. Your nostrils are different on either side. So that's why when you look at you have one side of your face, you say, oh God, my profile is so much better on this side. So just keep that under consideration when you're doing something like this that does have an imperfect stone in the middle. If it was perfectly round, there wouldn't be as many decisions to make. Okay, so now the fun part comes, because I'm going to pull some. Let me just put this down for a second. I'm just going to pull. Oh, wait till you see the camera I bought. It's a wide angle lens, excuse me, and it won't blur when I do a close-up. Okay, so here we are. We've got the two beads. Let me show you on the earring. You see the two at the top. Now we're just going to brick stitch this, the matte beads around. So again, you're starting at the top. Take two beads. We're going to go under the thread that's on the side of the crystal. We're going to go up the second one, just like regular brick stitch. Okay, we've got our, sort of wonky sitting first bead there, but we'll take care of that later. Okay, looks good to me. Now I have to decide, I pick up another one, do I go through the first thread bridge? But I'm not going to. I'm going to go in between. Well, that is the first thread bridge actually, so I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to pull up. I'm going to pull that into place. So now I've got 3 beads on. So continue down. I'm going to go through each thread bridge until you get to the bottom, and we'll come back and we'll go around again. Okay, we're back. So I've gone all the way around like we did in the previous rows. We've done adding all our crystals. We're just coming around the top. So here I am. I connected the wonky bead to this bead. I've already done that twice, so I figured, you probably didn't need me to do that again. And I put my pin through. I had to wiggle it around a little bit, but it's still necessary, I believe. If there's someone out there who has a better way of doing it, I'm open to suggestions, but this works well for me. Okay, so now we're on our last row. So we're coming out of that, and we're just adding the matte beads at this point. Coming out of that, the top bead, we're going to go through this first thread bridge. Oops, I got myself a little caught there. Okay, let me see if I'm a little close there. So I've actually had to add a bead or two as I went along, because it was just a decision I made. I think it all went back to the beginning when I wasn't sure if I should add a bead, so I didn't, and I probably should have, but you can't. You just will never know. But that's what I mean about making these decisions. So here, my thread bridge is here. I'm going to have to go here and put another one in there in order to keep them straight. So I did it through 2 beads through the 1 thread bridge. You can do as many beads through the 1 thread bridge as possible. Now this bead up here, I'm thinking, I don't know, we'll see. It looks a little close, but maybe we can work that out. Okay, so there we go. Let's add another one. So I'm going through the next thread bridge, going up, going through the next thread bridge, going back up. Now see that bead? I'm going to take that bead out. Look how skinny that bead is. So that little skinny bead right there, this one, that's going to make my project dip in a little bit, because it's a skinny bead, and I didn't realize it was so skinny. So I'm going to try and back out without taking my needle off. But that's just one example of how the beads are different sizes, and I wasn't really paying attention. So look at this. Look at that tiny little skinny, let me see if I can get it even, bead compared to let's say this bead. So that's why it's important, to look at the beads and try to keep them as uniform as possible. I'm going to throw that little guy in my little bead jar where I have all my sort of reject beads, and one day I'll use them. I don't know what for, but maybe I'll embroider something with them. So I'm going to continue going down. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to go all the way around. See how it's coming out? Looks pretty good. Going to go through there. Next thread bridge. You don't want to bunch this up. In my opinion, you're better off having it nice and straight instead of bunchy. See? Instead of having too many beads on. So if you have a little gap If you know, if it's the difference between a little gap and a, oops, sorry about that, and a the beads all bunching on top of each other, I would put the gap in. I would, you know, let the gap happen because you want it to be straight. And when the beads start bunching up, you know, the whole earring gets racked out. So that's another thing you have to make a decision about. You know, am I putting this on, you know, is it bunching up too much? Like I have a little concern about this top bead here. This bead may have to, I don't know what's going to happen there. But we'll see when I get around. So here's another thread bridge. Go up. Okay, I know this video is in a lot of different pieces, but they're not long pieces. So I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to meet you up at the top here. And then we're going to put on in the head pin, and we're going to put the earring hook on, and we're going to have an earring. Okay, see you soon. Okay, a little, as I was going around, I saw that there's something that might be important for me to tell you. So do you see how I've come around? This is the bottom of the earring. I've come around with my second row of brick stitch. I took my pin out. I put this bead on right here, and then, you know, they were sitting wonky. So when I put the pin back in, I put these 3 in a row. So it kind of straightens things out. So, you know, let me pull the pin out. You'll see let's see how it's a little wonky. So I'm taking the pin, I'm putting it in. I'm not worried about, you know, finding the holes for it. It'll find its way, and if not, you'll play with it. But my pin went straight in, and you see how now I've lined up these 3 by using the pin, and it really helps. So let's continue on with our last row. And I was trying to make this video shorter. Hopefully there's a bit to go yet because we have to put the head pin in. And sometimes, you know, and when you use this pin, it sort of makes room for the head pin. And you're not going to rip your thread. It's going to be just fine. There's plenty of space down there. I've made these earrings for years, and as I was telling you earlier in the video, I practice a very hot vinyasa yoga, which is, you know, power yoga to those who are familiar with it. And I wear these earrings all the time, and I wouldn't suggest wearing them, but I wear them anyway. Actually, I generally wear everything I make to a power yoga class to see, because that's going to be the ultimate test to see if whether it's going to fall apart or it's going to stretch. The only thing that I had a little difficulty with was a very delicate herringbone bracelet that kept, you know, it just wasn't meant for hot yoga. But I wore it everywhere else and it was fine. So we're going around, trying to speed up a little bit. So here I have a little decision to make. Is that going to pop in? See this one little space there? Let's see how it would look if I I don't want it to indent too much. So let me see. So I'm putting a second bead in the same thread bridge. And I think that, let's see. Yeah, I think that's going to work out because, let me look at it this way. Yeah, because I didn't want it to indent, and I think at that point there would have been too big a space. So again, decisions, and sometimes you make the right decision, and sometimes you make the decision that's right. You always make the right decision, but it can look a little bit better if you put it in. If you look at it and say, well, let me compare it to the other earring. Is it close to that other earring? And it is. So, and the earrings are on opposite ears. So, and again, even your ears aren't symmetrical. One ear is probably a little higher or lower than the other. So that's, my whole point about it is that don't worry about it. it's going to take time for you to make the decision. And even I've been doing this for a long time, and I still sometimes make a decision on where to put a bead, and there could have been a better decision on where to put a bead. Like, and I keep looking back at one part, and I think, gee, I should have added a bead there, but I thought it might bunch up, and then I tried a bead and it was too thin. So, as I said in the beginning, the difficulty about this video is not the stitch, it's the decisions that you have to make in order to brick stitch around something. And I think that looks pretty good. Brick stitch around something that is not round. It's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. Oops. So did I get myself all messed up? Nope. Okay. And you might, when you do this, you might want to, do it when you have plenty of time and you're not feeling aggravated or frustrated, because I know it took me several tries to make this, but it was worth, once I sort of got my rhythm down and my spacing down a little bit better, I was really happy, and I love making them, because you see how many pairs I've made. I've made a ton of them. Okay, so we're at decision point. So I'm going to pull my little pin down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add a bead and see what happens. So I'm going to put one here, because that little that side bead, it's a little close. So in order to make these match, I'm going to come down, I'm going to come around that bead, and it's loose, it's always loose in the beginning. And I'm going to come up the bead that I just put on. Okay, and that's going to straighten that bead, and that worked out okay. So I'm going to try and pop my pin up. And do you see where my pin did not go up the last bead? Just make it go up the last bead. So just pick one, and it looks to me like it should it be that one? Let's see. Could be that one. Let's see. Will it go up? This wants to go up in the middle. So I'm going to just give it a little pull and see if I can get it. I'm going to look at my other one. See here, decision. So I've got the 2 in a row. So I really want to get 2 in a row here. So I'm just going to pull it over a little bit, and then I'm going to push my pin through it. And it's kind of forcing it a bit. So what it's done a little bit is it's moved my beads around just a teeny. So I'll just take my needle and I'll just play with them a little bit. Okay, so see, that's where sometimes it's not as perfect as it could be. And I think I got my thread over the top of this bead, and I want to fix that. I think that's my... Okay, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to pull that up. And you see, so it just depends on, what fits. So that's not a bad fit. Okay, and here's the mate. I'm going to put them together and see how they look. Okay, so there you go. They look pretty good. I'm happy with it. Okay, so at this point, what we want to do is we want to try and get that head pin in. So these 24 gauge head pins are kind of thin. It may be a 26 would work. I just don't know if it'll fit through the seed beads. So I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to pull see, I've pulled that out. You could probably just use it this way, but I kind of like putting a head pin in. So I'm taking my head pin, and I'm going to wiggle it. And sometimes it goes in, and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to try to wiggle it up through the beads, and it'll bend a little bit. You might want to use a 26 gauge. So I'm just wiggling it around, and see, it's bending, but that's okay. It'll straighten out. You can even straighten it out a little bit with your pliers. I know this is like a little crazy. I feel it going up there. See, it's coming out of the top, but it didn't go through that seed bead. So what I want to do is I want to play with it a little bit until I get it through that seed bead. Okay, so I'm going to try to get it through that one. So in order to do that, like sometimes you might have to take your little pin and sort of just put that there, okay, because I can feel it right in there. And then just, I'm glad that this is, it's not happening perfectly, because it's not going to happen perfectly all the time. So I'm going to, see the head pin? I'm going to pull it down a teeny bit. I'm going to try to get this bead over it. Okay, I think I got it over it. I'm holding with my fingers, and I still didn't get it through. So I'm going to try it again. Okay, so I pulled it over. I'm going to hold it. See if I can get it through now. So now I got it through. So do you see how, and then I'm going to, well, before we talk about it, let me just push it all the way through. You can pull it up with your pliers. Okay, we had a head pin on there. How exciting is that? All right, so what you want to do with, see, I knew this bead was going to be a little bit of a problem, but I still think it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread right now, and I'm going to come through a couple of beads here, and I'm going to, whoops, sorry about that, and I'm going to pull my thread through. I'm going to go through another bead in the middle. So this is sort of, I'm trying to get the thread out of the way so I can work with my pliers, and also you want to reinforce this a little bit. Okay, so I do have a little bit of a wonky bit there, but I think I've done all I can with that. But when you look at it, I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so take this and then maybe go, just maybe go up a little bit here. You just want to tie this thread in a little bit. The tail you could cut off, I should have said you can cut off at any time. Maybe go down that one. So let's get that out of the way for the moment. So here we are with our head pin. So we want to make this loop. Okay. So let's take our round nose pliers, and I'm going to just bring that around. Oops, bring it around. Okay. Bring it around. So I've got this big old loop right there. The other one had a pretty big loop, so that's why I'm making this big. And with this very thin wire gauge head pin, you can kind of use your fingers to twist it around. So twist it around. Twist it around. Let me straighten it out a little bit. Hold it, twist it around one more time. Okay. We'll straighten that loop out. And what you want to do is you want to take your cutters, clip it as close to as possible. Press that in. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to sort of straighten out the loop a little bit. I'm going to compare it to my other loop. So see, my loops are kind of big, but that's okay. I like them that way. And then I'm going to take at this point I think we can cut off. You can wind the thread around a little bit, but with brick stitch, I really, you just need a little bit of reinforcement there. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to take my little earring hook. I'm just going to bend this out just a little bit, and I've put a little crystal on it just to make it look pretty. Okay, so I'm going to put this on, and then I'm going to Actually, I didn't pull it out that far, so I'll pull it back a little bit, and then I'm going to press it in a little bit. And here's your earring. So let me move all the supplies out of the way, and we'll take a look and see how it looks. Okay, so you've got your head pin in. It's still, flexible, but it's so light that it just you don't even feel it when you're wearing it. So here you go. Here's the original. I'll put it on my hand so you can really see them. Here's the one we just did, and I think they both look pretty good. Okay, something that I might change on it is I might play with the space here a little bit. But I'm getting picky now. Put these on and they're gorgeous. They're pretty much the same width. That's the most important thing. They're not too uneven, and they look kind of nice. Okay, so you've just learned how to brick stitch around a component that isn't round, and that's hard. And once you get this down, let me see if I can get closer. I'm taking a big chance, I always do with my camera. Okay, so this is something that you're going to have to practice with a lot. So get out maybe some bigger beads, or try this. Just do it really slowly, and you'll eventually play with it and maybe make something, something like that. I almost see the red in that a little bit now, or or the green one. Or maybe, here's a blue one. This one I put a little bit of a crystal at the top. These look so pretty on your ears. You're not going to believe how they shine. Or even that little necklace. Okay, so there you have it. We've done the entire video of brick stitching around a teardrop, and I think we did a good job. So keep practicing. Keep working on it, and I will see you on the next video. I think I'm going to make a bracelet to go with this, but not in brick stitch. I'm going to do it in maybe a flat spiral, something like that, in the same colors as this, because this and a bracelet together would really look beautiful, but it doesn't have to be the same stitch. I'm just going to use the same colors, and I'll post, that'll be easy. I'll post that one in the next couple of days. So this was, for me, a fun video. I haven't made these in a long time, so it was a lot of fun to make them. I hope you try them and don't get, and maybe post some pictures on Facebook. If you like me, press that like button. If you like my channel, subscribe to my channel, and join me on Facebook, and let's chat. Okay, see you on the next video. Bye, everyone.